I'm Igor Kayfetz, and this is The List Building Lifestyle, a podcast for anyone who wants to build a wildly profitable email list working from home. If you'd like to make six figures, travel the world, and help people improve their lives in the process, then this podcast is for you. I also invite you to attend a free workshop at igor.ac, where I'm teaching how I made $21,779.25 in affiliate commissions by sending just 481 clicks to my affiliate link in one day. I'm also explaining why I walked away from ClickBank and I don't promote ClickBank offers anymore, as well as the 5 things I look for in the perfect affiliate offer. I'm even going to show you the one-page website that I used to make over $500,000 in affiliate commissions this year, and I'll even bribe you to attend this workshop by giving you a $497 value course that shows you how to cherry pick high-converting affiliate offers for your next affiliate promotion. In addition, I'll even give you the 3 offers I'm promoting right now that are making me money as we speak. All that and more at igor.ac. And now it's time to claim your list building lifestyle. Welcome back to another edition of the List Building Lifestyle with your host, Igor Kayfetz. My next guest is a fitness and copywriting legend. He's widely referred to as role model of influence by some of the world's top print persuasion masters, including Perry Marshall, the author of 80/20 Sales and Marketing, John Carlton, the Marketing Rebel, Ryan Deiss, the founder of Digital Marketer, Yannick Silver, Eben Pagan, Mike Filsaime, Andy Jenkins, Frank Kern, and dozens of other experts. You may know him as the father of the VSL. I know him as the only person who keeps beating me in affiliate competitions for some of our mutual partners. He's also a best-selling author of Fit Over 40, The Every Other Day Diet, and The 7-Minute Muscle. By the time I'm done reading this intro, my guest will actually probably publish another book. So without further ado, please help me welcome Mr. Jon Benson.
Hey, how you doing, Igor?
I'm doing great. I'm really excited, especially since reading your latest copywriting book, Open Click Buy, about email marketing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, I do have to ask you, though. I mean, and be serious, okay? I really want the truth here. Do you really speak monkey?
I actually, everyone that knows me knows that the only person that likes monkeys more than me is probably Eben Pagan, but I would say I'd give him a good run for his money on that. So yeah, I really want a monkey. So that book was completely littered with a lot of things about monkeys, and yeah, the people that got the humor loved it. It became kind of like a cult classic, and other people were like, "What the hell is this guy trying to say?" So, why don't you just tell us what to send in an email? But yeah, it was too boring. So.
Well, I mean, I love it you've done it that way because first off, it shows that a boring thing like copywriting can actually be entertaining. And second thing, it actually is a good way of introducing the whole concept of the monkey mind because it is what governs our decision making.
Right.
So this is actually where I want to start. I would love for you to chat about how to leverage or how to influence the monkey mind to, help it decide to buy from us.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite topics in copy. There's a lot of terms I use for it: the persuasion quadrant, the four quadrants of persuasion, et cetera. But basically, monkey mind is a funny way of saying, you've got your lizard brain, you've got your mammalian, the lower evolved part of your brain, and then the prefrontal cortex, which is the last part of the brain to evolve, and also it's also the last to really get what's really going on underneath the surface. Underneath the surface, everything from, amygdala stuff to, to these base emotions that we carry I'm going to speak euphemistically here just because it's easier for, rather than getting to all the science of the brain. But think of your brain in 3 parts, right? We get the lower part, the mid part, and the high part, which is where you tap your forehead, right? Well, your lower parts and mid parts are where a lot of your emotional decision making comes from, and most decisions are made from emotions. So even people that don't claim they feel emotions are making it based on emotions. They're just not aware of it. And so without speaking to that, you can't tie in the logical part of the brain, which, I'm being grossly oversimplifying here, but the logical part of the brain, the front part of the brain, the evolved part of the brain is never going to click in. And so there's a saying that I love, and that is that you buy based on emotion, you justify based on rationality. So that's basically what a copywriter's job is to appeal to those those quadrants of the brain. Even though I'm talking three, there's actually four persuasion quadrants. So what I call, they're four areas that you need to tap on as a copywriter, which is wants, needs, fears, and actions. So actions are logical decision-making stuff. And so it's the last on the tier, where needs and fears are in the middle for a reason. They're the most vital. Wants are superficial. Wants are I think I want an ice cream cone. Well, you don't need an ice cream cone, right? You want one. But what you need is escape. What you need is to reduce your stress levels. What you need is comfort. So that's the need under, I want to go get ice cream. So no one needs ice cream, right? And so if you don't speak to somebody based on that, whether it's through email or a sales letter, especially, or VSL, you're going to lose customers. So, and I'll use the blatantly use the words, you want something like this, and underneath you need something like this. I mean, you can spell it out, or you could write around it and just do, some clever ways of not being so obvious. But, the monkey brain doesn't care. You can be as obvious as you want, which is why a lot of great copy is on the fourth grade level. When you run it through like a Flesch-Kincaid score, it's fourth grade or fifth grade level. Which is what is that telling you? The copy that converts the best is, it doesn't matter if you're selling to doctors or what, it's written at the fourth, fifth grade level. So that's definitely the lower part of your brain. It's definitely not your prefrontal cortex isn't even fully developed at that age. So that tells you how little your logical brain, your higher decision-making brain plays into making purchases and making even life-changing decisions. Like getting married.
I love it how most of us think we're so logical and smart, and we're like subscribing to a belief system that says that we are like making decisions, when most of the time we're just reacting to some internal undersurface feelings or things like that drive us, like you said. So you gave the example of the ice cream. For me, it's PlayStation. For the longest time, PlayStation served as an escape, and I thought that I'm playing because I'm a gamer. But turns out that ever since I was a teenager, playing games was the comfort. Playing games was the escape that I used whenever I don't feel like, admitting that my life kind of sucked. Same thing for sweets, of course, and sugar and stuff like that, which is way harder to eradicate than to just to throw out my PlayStation out the window, which I at one point did, and then stabbed it with a screwdriver, which is absolutely rational behavior. Absolutely.
You went all Dexter on it.
Yes. So, yes. And, it's just fascinating to see how most of the time we're not even aware of what makes us tick, and therefore we always struggle to make other people buy from us. But the moment we start, we get on this journey of self-discovery, if you will, right? We start asking ourselves these complicated questions. We start better understanding the people we're marketing to.
Oh yeah, yeah. I couldn't agree more. I mean, I've said this many times. I've said it a couple times when talking to John Carlton, that if you don't know yourself, you can never be a good copywriter, which basically means that if you look at the elite guys, on some level, they've done the work. They know themselves. I can think in particular, Chris Haddad. Okay. So you get a guy that's gone through lots of mental torturous stuff. I mean, he's fought through like diseases and having to come to terms with who he is as a person. But no one can say Chris isn't reflective, right? I mean, you have to get in and dig deep, and he's definitely one of the best and one of the best guys at doing that. And that's something that I don't know that you can't really teach that. That has to be, when I use the word enlightened moment, I don't mean, in the woo-woo, I'm enlightened, kind of nonsense that people claim that live in Encinitas. But I'm talking about in like a moment of enlightenment that comes across you, where you call it self-actualization, if you will, Maslow kind of stuff, where the light bulb goes on and you realize, whoa, there's a lot more to me that I don't know, and I need to ask the questions. And so it's, having great partners, great relationships, a meditative practice, whatever your practice is, something that allows you to go internal is going to make you a better writer, because you can become in touch with your own, wants and the differences between wants and needs, which is, I write a lot in relationships, and I love the topic. I'm writing a book on love and relationships right now. I've been working on it for a year and a half, and it one of the most powerful exercises I've ever done with couples. And just because this has been a fascination of mine for 15 years, is talking about like wants, needs, and desires. And you break the three out. Like, what do you desire? What do you want? What do you need? And if you learn this technique, whether it's your girlfriend, your wife, or your husband, or whatever it may be, you can diffuse so much stuff that most people will never share with their couple, their partner. They'll keep it bottled up, and that stuff just explodes. But the closer this allows you to dive into a whole different realm of intimacy. And likewise, in writing copy, the more intimate you can be with your prospect. I mean, just think about, like, I'm talking about intimate on, not on a sexual level, but on a how well can I know you level, which is what intimacy really is, right? Man, you write on an intimate level with somebody, I guarantee you're going to get the sale. And I'm not saying like faux intimacy. I'm not saying I'm just going to sound like I care, kind of stuff. I mean, actually really dive deep. And you can't do that unless you dive deep with yourself. I mean, I probably some people can fake it. I mean, they're sociopathic.
Oh, I've met people who can fake it.
Yeah, they're and I'll use the term sociopathic. I mean, in the sense that they don't have a true conscience. If you can fake it to a level, where you're riding on that level, and you're really faking the concern across the board. On some level, that will work, and in the long run, that will burn out. And even if it works in the long run, you'll never be happy. So, I mean, because let me just face it. I mean, what's the point in doing any of this if you're not happy?
Yeah, that'd be challenging. That will be challenging. All right. So in the book, I know we kind of went onto the relationship niche for a second there, but I wanna kind of zero in on something really interesting in your book here. And I think you're the only person, aside from myself, who ever spoke about this, because I haven't heard anyone talk about it before. You encourage us to break down our list not by demographic or the product purchase or whatever, but rather by fan versus subscriber, right, or fan versus visitor. So can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, if you think about like who you want on your list, I mean, do you want a list of what I call raving fans or rabid fans, or do you want a list of subscribers? Do you want to think in terms of a list? When you write an email, are you thinking, I need to get an email out to my list? I mean, I've said that, again, just talking off the cuff or whatever. Hey, we need to get an email out to the list today about X, right? Well, really what you're doing is you need to write an email to one person, and you just happen to forward that to just to a bunch of other people, but they all need to feel like they're the only person that you wrote that to. Even if there's like an invite, like, look, I'm inviting, when you get down to the invite thing, look, I'm inviting some of my closest posse into this inner circle webinar. Even that sounds more personal than, come register for this webinar so I can sell you shit. I mean, so it's the tone and the posturing that you can take inside of a sales letter or an email or whatever you're writing that can feel as if it's written to one person, which is, to me, the most obvious thing in the world. It's the most obvious thing that's not obvious to especially beginners, but if people have been in the business a long time, where you read, and the worst cases of this, the worst cases in the world of this is if you go to any Fortune 500 website and you read any of their crap on their sales page. I mean, can you get more narcissistic? I mean, and boring and completely uninteresting and uninspired. And of course, there are exceptions. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but clever companies with that are based around creativity, they're going to be an exception. But the people that we feel the most connected to are the ones that make us feel like we're the only person in the room at the moment, not forever, but at the moment. In other words, you have my undivided presence. I mean, think about how powerful that is. Again, going back to, I liken everything back to relationships, but with friends or whatever. When somebody's really present with you, you feel it. It's palpable, and that it's going to have to end. They're going to have to go home or whatever, but it doesn't matter, because in that moment, you're the only person in the universe. And if you can make the customer feel that way or the prospect feel that way, they become a fan, because they believe that they're the only person in the universe. Not because you're faking it, not because, of course, they're not, but because you're writing to them with the respect that kind of presence deserves. So I'm just encouraging people to be present with their lists. And yes, we all get in a hurry. And yes, I've got a software platform that actually generates copy, but the copy is all written in a singular person mindset. The only exceptions to that are the really generic things that have to go out, like for B2B stuff. And even that, we try to personalize a lot. So making someone feel that way for a moment could be the highlight of somebody's day. I mean, I can't tell you how many people, especially in my large fitness list, email support saying, thank you so much for sending me this. It's almost like you're reading my mind. And it's so great that you took the time to write me, because that's the way they feel. And so I want to make them feel that way. Again, I'm going to stress this one more time, just in case it's not clear, not to manipulate somebody. And I know that this could be used for evil and manipulation. Absolutely. I just simply want to communicate that way to somebody, because I believe if they're spending time reading an email, I want them to be entertained. I want them to feel seen. I want them to feel heard. I want them to feel validated. So those are the words I use a lot: seen, heard, and validated. So you do that as a copywriter, and I'll tell you exactly what's going to happen. People will either go, ooh, man, that's like, oh, that's TMI. That's unsubscribe, right? The people that you don't want, because that person will never buy from you. And if they do, they will be a pain in the ass and you will hate them forever. They're the person that emails customer support twice a day, or the person that goes, my God, that email, I'm going to forward that email to a friend. That really got to me. That was awesome. That person sees me or understands me. That's who you want. Those are fans. Those are fans. And so I'm trying to build a list of fans.
I think one of the easiest ways to get more fans is to tell more personal stories about yourself with a tie-in to what you're marketing, or the solution or the problem that your customers experience. For example, earlier today, I sent out a 7-minute VSL where for about 4 minutes of that VSL, it's all about me sharing a story of how my dad went through the series of ups and downs financially throughout his life, where he would do well, then would have a heart attack, then recover for 3 weeks and kind of lose momentum, then kind of try to get back up on it. Then a few years later, again, another heart attack, same thing happens. And then after he moved to Israel, the final and the most fatal one of them all, where he couldn't recover from it, he couldn't get a job afterwards, and we kind of spiraled into like a 10-year debt from there. So, and that's a great story to A, connect, B, create those fans, and C, to really illustrate a good point. Look, things will happen in your life that you don't expect, and you better be prepared financially with a business that can sustain itself and make you money even if you're in the hospital.
Absolutely true. That's I've dealt with major health challenges, including a heart attack, in my 30s. So I've got the genes for that, and that was the impetus for my first book. But those kind of wake up calls are pretty potent. And if you can share them and share them openly, I remember thinking, oh, I can't tell anyone I had a heart attack and write a fitness book. It's like, no, that's a good reason to write one, and it's like and to say, look, my carotid arteries used to be, almost a quarter blocked, and now they're clear. So I'm doing something right, because that was a long time ago, so you can turn it in, you can take something bad and turn it into something good. That's really what you have to do. You have to do that. And so if you tell a story like you're telling, and you flip that story around, and it becomes a hero's journey story, to where they can see themselves in I'm not telling you how to write copy or anything, but like telling a story like that is like asking the reader to say, have you had anything like this happen in your own life? Maybe it's health, maybe it's somebody losing their job, maybe it's somebody losing their spouse, and how were you able to turn it around? I'm really interested in hearing that. So almost everyone's got a story like that, and it's how you turn it around that makes all the difference, because that's just going to happen. There's nothing that you can do about this. And not to get all meta on people, but I have this conversation. I was a philosophy major, so it kind of comes with the territory. But I have this conversation a lot, especially with a lot of my friends are just, they're really optimistic people. They're very, light, shining bright kind of people. And I tend to be an outspoken optimist most of the time as well, but I'm a realist and an optimist at the same time. So with this girl, I know we had this conversation about, at first she's like, I just see the world as being really, really beautiful and orderly and all this kind of stuff. And I have the exact opposite view. I see the world as mostly chaos with little dots of order and beauty. And that makes me appreciate those little dots of order and beauty so much more. But I expect the chaos. And if you look at the universe as a scientist, you look at the universe, You're not going to see, you're going to see galaxies running into each other, stars going supernova. You're going to see, meteors hitting, hitting the Earth, for example, hopefully not a big one anytime soon, or an asteroid. But you see that happening all the time to the moon, to Mars, et cetera. It's chaotic. But in the moments where it's not chaotic, there's so much beauty. And so, yes, but focus on the beauty without losing track of the chaos. So that allows someone to get a little deeper when they write. Let me just share this one thing. Who did I tell this to the other day? I forgot who it was. I was having a conversation about the most unsexy, boring woman. Now I'll use a woman because I date women, right? So feel free to insert gender here. To me, absolutely, you could might as well it's a much better solution to, you might as well castrate me, is I'm always upbeat and happy. Everything's so awesome, John. Isn't it great? The saccharin is just, you might as well inject it into my veins. I mean, it's terrible. So I'm not saying someone goes around mopey and down all the time, but that's not true. That even on the most optimistic version of life, you have to look at, even if your life is going great, there's a lot of stuff that's not so great around the world. But if you come to terms and going, man, the world is pretty fucked up and there's a lot of chaos out there, but man, look at how much more this beauty inspires me now, whether it's a painting or a lover or something beautiful that happens, or something happens in your business, something happens where you get a huge sales month or whatever it may be. Knowing, like you said, the money can dry up in a heartbeat. You can have a heart attack. You can have 3. There's nothing you can do to prevent life from happening. Something is going to happen, and it's just the nature of the beast. But if you can say, I'm going to look at every moment, and every moment that I'm going to find the beauty in every moment, being aware of the chaos. You don't have that saccharine drivel that comes out in email or sales copy that, my God, like I said, go to any Fortune 500 website and you might become suicidal if you're a copywriter just reading that stuff. But but it's just dross, man. It's just terrible. It's exactly the opposite of, if you're listening to me and you want to be a copywriter or you are a copywriter, it's exactly the opposite of what actual persuasion is. So the kind of setting the big emotional tone here for what we're talking about. Real persuasion is talking like we're talking here, only talking to one person, talking to your list as one person. And I'm not saying you're like start off with, the world's chaotic and sucks, man. But I'm just saying you need to have that perspective. I mean, most intelligent people, most people who have thought through it, they understand that there's darkness and light, and there's this delicate balance, but it ain't 50-50, man. it's not a yin yang kind of symbol. It's not 50-50. I'm talking about in the universe and as a whole. I mean, meaning that 99.9999% of all the universe is completely inhospitable to all life as we know it. So certainly not 50-50, right? But the fact that we live on this beautiful blue dot, this pale blue dot, as Carl Sagan said, and we have order and chaos. We have hurricanes and sunsets, right? To look at the sunset, but also know that there's the hurricane, and to be able to speak to both. That's what I'm talking about knowing yourself, knowing your prospect, turning your prospect into a fan, relating to them on all levels. You can't do it if you're just like, isn't this awesome? That's just the worst thing ever. So I'm giving you my opinion. I mean, that's, you probably wanted to talk to me for my opinion, but that's it. But I know I met people that are like, I just lost both my legs, but it's still an awesome day. Dude, if this is not a bad day, what the fuck is a bad day? Auschwitz? I mean, it's like, it's, come on, that level of like, rah. When my dad, who fought in World War II, instilled this in me, he was like, I had a much older father than most people have. He was 53 when I was born, but so he fought in a world war. He fought in the world war. I mean, if you can imagine this, right? And so I hear that people today, euphemistically, they're actually not being euphemistic, they're just being idiots, calling people they disagree with Nazis. My father killed real Nazis. So that's a gross insult to everyone I know that's Jewish, a lot of my friends, everyone I know that lives in Israel, my father, his memory. So fuck you. So that's the kind of thing. It's like, I want that fuck you to come out in your copy. And I also want the fact that, oh, I'm so fucking in love with this, whatever it may be, this new meal, this new girl, this new guy, whatever it is. It all comes out. And that's how you get someone to say, wow, I really like that person. I don't agree with him here, but I don't care. So, I mean, think of who you follow on YouTube. Do you agree with everything they say? If so, you're in an echo chamber. But if not, you're listening to somebody that actually is connected,
Yo, it's Igor. If you're loving the content, hop on over to listbuildinglifestyleshow.com for more free training and a free transcript of this episode. Oh, and I'd really appreciate if you logged into iTunes and rated the show. It really helps. Thanks. I think it's a really good idea to actually do, an occasional fuck you in your copy and to almost deliberately push some people away with your opinions and your thoughts and your belief systems.
Oh, yeah.
Because first off, it pushes away the people who won't buy. And then, of course, it sort of attracts and further indoctrinates the people who will, because typically they will share the same opinion as you do.
Yeah, absolutely true. There's a fine line in finding that balance. I mean, where, when I was really, ironically, because of your podcast name, when I was really growing my list, I had no idea that what I was doing was not normal. Looking back, I'm like, wow, what was I thinking? But I had a podcast, or rather a blog, that grew to like 20,000 followers in a couple of weeks. And it got nominated for Forbes magazine Best of the Web and came in second, which was pretty cool. And I didn't do it, but somebody else did it. And I had this rabid following of people that were, whatever reason, jiving on my bizarre sense of humor and moments of darkness inspired by a lot of light and a lot of making fun of this whole thing of fitness and weight loss and all this stuff, but also giving out good ideas. And yeah, there was a lot of moments in there where I'm like, getting on people's cases and stuff like that. And telling people that look, if you're not going to do this, if you're not going to follow this, if you're not going to do the system, fuck off. That's exactly what I would tell a friend. And that's where I want to go with this. Is if I had a quote unquote friend that was not showing up, that was just, kind of drifting out on the fringes, I would have the go fuck off conversation. So why wouldn't you do it if you start thinking of your list as a group of potential friends, some will be fans, some will be neutral, and that's cool, but others need to be kicked off. Others are causing they're bringing, toxins into the system, so to say, and it's not that they're bad people. It's just, they're just not a good fit for you. Like I talked to you earlier about that thing with Joe. It's not that guy was a bad person. It just wasn't a good fit. So looking at it that way really helps. It's like, instead of looking at it as evil, as tribal, as as everyone, as I'm probably not the first person to notice this, but it's a pretty tribal world right now, especially in the United States. It's incredibly tribal, to where what used to be considered just normal common sense is thrown completely out the window for such radical extremism on both sides of the political aisle, more on the left to me than the right, but even more on the left. So where the most nonsensical ideas that most people would have laughed at 5 years ago are now being entertained as rational thought. So when you have a broken system, which is what we have, and where people cannot be honest, this is what you get. But on the other hand, if you get somebody, it's like who has a shred of honesty, who's coming out or who's coming across as being, hey, I'm being completely honest with you here, even where he's not. I'm talking about the president, but he has that air, when he was running for office, that attracted a lot of people because people are hungry for it. Granted, an honest politician is an oxymoron, but some less honest than others, right? But how much more attractive are you going to be to your list if you're just honest? Like if you tell the story that you told, that your father, what he went through, and but even more about yourself. It's like, there are days where I stare at the blinking cursor of death, and I have no idea what to write next. And there are days where I feel like, there are times where I've written a letter that bombed, where I question whether or not I'm really good at all. So, I mean, which is, by the way, that's all true. Even though I'm known for writing really fast, I can write really, really fast. But if for whatever reason, if I'm off my game that day, I got the blinking cursor of death or whatever. But my God, man, I've written a lot of bombs, and to hear that from people, and if it takes down your mystique a little bit, fine, let it. If people are looking for legends, man, they're in the wrong place. They need to go fucking read Game of Thrones.
But don't read the ending.
Yeah, don't watch the ending. Yeah, wait for the real ending. My God. Yeah, you can stop after season 4 if this helps anyone who hasn't gotten to the game. You can stop there. The first 4 seasons are brilliant, but writing and everything else. But yeah, I mean, look at the not to pivot to Game of Thrones, but the characters in Game of Thrones that almost everyone resonates with the most are the ones that are the most blatantly honest, the ones that are the most real, and the ones that are the most broken. I mean, I can list my favorite characters off the top of my head. It's like, and they're the ones that were the most broken. And when I say broken, I mean, not like, again, morbid depression or anything, but, people that were just being real with themselves, and they would have these moments of brilliance, a la Abraham Lincoln, for example, who was a broken human being. I mean, if you know anything about Lincoln, I mean, my God, if there's a poster child for failure, just look at Abraham Lincoln's track record. It will read like, if you read that track record, you would think this guy's a complete loser. I mean, one of the worst track records you'll ever see. And yet Lincoln did a couple of the greatest things ever, and a horrible civil war that killed more people than any other. I mean, so you get this mix of greatness and debauchery, and greatness and insanity that I think people resonate with. People remember Lincoln. They'll remember Kennedy. They'll remember, I wrote my thesis on Jefferson, so obviously we'll remember Jefferson. And if you look at the culture today, they want to tear down, monuments to Jefferson because he was a flawed human being. What a fucking pathetic thing to do to anyone for any reason. I mean, yeah, you have to have standards, like if someone's a serial killer or something, but yeah, I mean.
But even serial killers get movies,
Yeah, they get movies, but you want to look at yourself. I mean, you talk about throwing rocks, you're living in a glass house. It's more like you've got like a grenade launcher, and you're aiming it toward the master bedroom window. It's just absurd that what this lack of self-honesty has gone to. Like whenever honesty is lacking in your copy or in your life, you can tell because it comes out as virtue signaling. That's what you sound like. When you write or when you speak, it's virtue signaling. And anyone with half of a degree of introspection will sense it, and they'll know something's wrong here. It's like, you're just not honest. So I want to talk to and relate to people and read people who are honest. And I'm not always honest. So that's an honest thing to say. I'm not always honest. I'm not always writing on this level. All my copy is not doing this because sometimes I get distracted. Sometimes I'm too busy doing other stuff. But that's my goal. That's where I want to go. And that's where most of my copy has been. So I don't know if any of this is helping
actually none of it helped, but we're just happy to listen to you. Like you're a great orator, so I'm ready.
Listen to me rant and rave.
Yeah, I love it.
If you can take the meta and apply this to more of a working model of how honest can I be? Can I send out an email to my list tomorrow and write it as one person and just tell a story and then say, whether that story is bad, quote unquote, negative or positive or a mix, like, hey, this negative thing happened and then something else happened that's positive, and make it relatable, obviously, to whatever the topic that you're writing about. But ask for somebody else's opinion. Love to hear what you think. Watch what happens. The people that will leave are the people that are virtue signaling because they're too afraid to look at themselves.
Yeah, but there people will leave anyway. I mean, that's what I'm noticing. Anytime I email, especially the emails that get the highest response in terms of opens and clicks and sales, those are usually the ones where I'm also getting the highest unsubscribe rate. Because they will leave. It's just inevitable, either because they lose interest or because they don't like your face or they don't like the sound of your voice or they don't like the fact that you're Jewish or whatever. I mean, I had one guy actually stay on my list because he hated me for being Jewish, and he like was sending me like death wishes and stuff like that just for fun, and I would not subscribe him either. It was just a really interesting reason to mail my list. But
wow, well, I
people
don't
hate you.
think I would have that level of restraint, but yeah, that's an interesting. I mean, if you think about keeping your enemies closer, and let's find out if you can. Well, think about if you could, like, quote unquote, convert someone like that. If you could change someone's position by, ironically, by not appealing to emotion, but by appealing to reason. And then, I've seen people change in my life, to just by having a better argument, by having a better position. They simply came to the conclusion that that their position wasn't as valid. And so on some major issues. So there's always a chance. Now, granted, I think, you get to walk a fine line there. I'm not, by the way, when I'm referring to being honest and all that stuff and the chaos, I'm not referring to being some sort of a bigoted human being or anything. But here's what's interesting is if anyone that knows me would say, he's definitely does, that's not in his genetic makeup, right? But some of the things I've posted online, specifically Facebook, I've been called everything under the sun you can think of, from a leftist lunatic to a Nazi. I'm neither. I'm not even close to either one of those spectrums. And so that's someone's projecting, and your customers will do this too. So they will project what they see in themselves, or more specifically, what they're afraid to see in themselves, onto something that appears to be, tapping the RAD in their brain, oh, that looks like this, therefore X, right? That's what the brain is basically evolved to do. Pattern X equals Y, even though pattern X has nothing to do with Y. So if you hear, rumbling in the jungle, in the bushes, you're going to run, even though it's just the wind, because you're thinking, oh, tiger, right? So the genes that got passed down are the ones that ran. The ones that stuck around got eaten by tigers when the rare chance it was a tiger. So it's, thinking of life that way, knowing how easily it could be to be reactive, makes it much more imperative to be introspective and to write this way to your list. I mean, I'm not talking to the guys that are like sending out the super short emails or like, hey, miracle cure over here. Betty lost 87 pounds. I mean, I've done it. I get it. You want to get the clicks, and because you want to drive people to a more entertaining VSL. Cool. I get that. But if you build your career off that, it's just going to be empty. You want to do other things. You want to do cooler things, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I think everybody wants to be John Carlton. We just don't want to, admit
Well,
it.
you're coming close, because when I interviewed John, he went on for like a good an hour or so.
He's good at that.
So you're giving him a run for the money for sure. And if I didn't know I was interviewing Jon Benson, I would be like, yeah, this sounds, man, this style, the style is really similar to Carlton.
Well, I'll put it this way: when Carlton and I usually talk, I mean, after about 20 minutes, he'll look at me and goes, "Man, you are fucking weird." It's like, what the hell are you talking about? So yeah, I think I may be a little bit more off the deep end than Johnny, but yeah, I mean, I think that, having his insight in the world, which no one would say Carlton's a chipper person, right? He's not like Mr. Optimistic, but he's also got all this amazing talent and beauty in his life. And, he just doesn't talk a lot about it. He talks a lot about his music and stuff, but yeah, that just tends to be the most persuasive, because you know what you're getting. You know that he's who he is, right? It's refreshing. Even though people all got their secrets, right? Some are just a little more open than others. And that's what I think you want to be with your readers, be a little bit more open than others. And for both the quote unquote good and bad, even though I don't like to make those categories per se, and you'll watch what happens to your clicks. And yeah, your unsubscribes will go up too, but man, the people staying on your list will be fans and they will buy from you. And we all want people to buy from us. We're still living in a capitalistic world, and at least until 2020 comes around. At that point, I'm not too sure anymore. But for right now, we're living in a capitalistic world, a capitalistic society, at least, where we want to make money and we want to be persuasive. That's good. I have no problems with that, as long as what you're selling makes a difference in people's lives, because they won't be persuaded otherwise. You have to be persuasive. People are too inundated with noise.
So what are you working on right now?
I have the biggest project in my career, man. It's, 3 years ago, I released Email Copy Pro, which was the first version of what's become copypro.ai, which is the second generation of that will be true artificial intelligence combined with the best copywriters in the world. So I wanted to create something that would basically, it reminds me of my first book, Fit Over 40. When I wrote it, I knew that it'd be too solipsistic to think that I could be the only person in the book, right? That my story of going from obese and, having heart disease and all that stuff, to being on the cover of a fitness magazine, that's a good article, but it's not a good book, in my opinion. So I interviewed 52 other people and got their stories and put their stories in the book. So between 40 and 80. So it was kind of cool. And I just turned 40 when it came out. Likewise, my copy's good and sometimes it's great, but is it universally the best? No one's is. And so I was lucky enough to have done a lot of favors for people, written VSLs that made a lot of people money. And we had everyone from digital marketer to Agora to Todd Brown to Jason Fladlin. I'm going down the list of the great copywriters that said, if you can put this into a machine, knock yourself out, pal. And I put it into a machine. I sent it back to them only for a totally different market. So they were like, holy shit. Well, how did you do that? Right. Well, it took 3 years to figure out how to code this thing. And so that's what copypro.ai is. It's the best copy in the world that anyone can now use. And we're talking everything from, full sales pages, webinars, to short email campaigns, to Facebook ads, to everything. And the coolest part about it for me is that instead of putting copywriters out of business, the version 2, which comes out as soon as we are fully funded, which hopefully will be in the next 4 months, that is going to employ more copywriters than any other platform. So I think we have a way of employing copywriters to where we can sell their copy and sell it over and over and over again because it's syndicated. So that's what's taken all my time. It's a completely new paradigm for copywriters. It gets rid of, I didn't get my check, I'm not going to get my residuals. You get paid instantly. It gets rid of people waiting for copy because you're literally syndicating your copy, so it's pre-written. And the machine puts their words with your words and then rewrites it and spits it out, and it reads as if I wrote it, or Todd, or whomever wrote it. So that's copypro.ai in a nutshell.
Wow. If you don't mind me asking, what does a project like that cost?
You mean how much have I put into it personally?
What kind of funding is required to build something like that?
Well, I put, I guess, in the last couple of years, at least $2 million into it myself. And then our funding is, we're raising 15 million or 20 million rather. And we may do 25. But 15 will probably be enough. And we're doing this in multiple rounds. Our first round is just $1 million. Our second round will be, it might be another $1 million round. And then the third round would be the 15 million, or 20 million. And it depends on how much it's going to take to get it. It's more people than you imagine, because otherwise you just get, shit in, shit out kind of stuff. Right. So the copy that goes in has to be vetted by multiple people, and, you have to be, all the copywriters are certified. So there's Josh Pellissier is running the certification program. So they go through 16 weeks of being certified. So we make everyone better copywriters, but we only take people that pass a quiz. It's not easy to pass. And so it's pretty labor intensive. I'll put it that way. And so, so we're looking at, to make that a reality, probably minimum 15 million, to turn the AI portion on, and to turn the full front end portion on, where people think of iStock Photo. You know how you get credits for iStock Photo and you can go, I need this photo. It's kind of the same thing. We're going to be on a credit system. So in CopyPro 2 will be, I'm going to buy 1,000 credits, and I'll use some for a Facebook ad, some for an email swipe, some for a webinar, and you'll just keep buying credits as you need them. And every time you buy them, whomever wrote that copy, unless they're internal guys, like an external guy wrote the copy, they get paid instantly. So they can sell it over and over again.
Wow.
That's the model. It's pretty cool. We got a lot of copywriters that are like, can't wait to go through the program because they want to have a better way to sell their services. So, I mean, think about it. How many great email campaigns have you written, right?
Yeah.
I mean, campaigns that just kill it. Well, what if a machine could take that, and if you wrote it for, let's say, Amazon book sales or whatever, and I could turn around and spin it and sell it for weight loss. So it's not competitive to you at all, but it's your same patterning. It's pretty cool.
That's just amazing. I mean, the level of thinking that's required to create something like that is pretty cool. I can truly appreciate that.
I have a headache this morning. I wasn't able to train this morning because I went to bed last night, and it's like I gotta have a headache, and there's no, like, nothing in my diet is bad, so it's not anything in my diet. So I'm like, oh my gosh, this is just from thinking too much. So it's like, a lot of thinking. You get kind of tired. But it's working.
All right, guys. So you can check out this project at copypro.ai. Make sure to keep your eyes on it because it's most likely going to dictate the next step for our industry, just like the VSL did several years ago.
Yes.
So with that said, Jon, thank you so much for taking the time to rap with me. I really appreciate it. It's been an honor and a pleasure. And
same here.
Until next time we chat, have a good one. Thank you for listening to the Lisbillion Lifestyle. Get access to previous episodes, the transcription of today's show, as well as other exclusive content at lisbillionlifestyleshow.com. Also, don't forget to claim your free seat at the workshop I'm hosting this week, where I showed the two-step system that made me the top affiliate for people like Matt Basak, John Crestani, Richard Leck, Michael Cheney, and many, many others. In fact, on this workshop, I'm going to show you the exact approach I take whenever I promote an affiliate offer, the exact offers I promote, as well as how I was able to make over $500,000 in commissions using my small list of just 18,000 people promoting a weird type of product that almost no one else promotes. All that is yours at igor.ac. So go ahead, claim your seat right now, and I'll see you there.